Hi, hello everyone. How terrific to see so many joining us today. We are still letting some folks come in here. We've got a little over 100 folks who are coming in to talk a little bit about how we're continuing to move forward with programming, with fundraising, and a mission focus for all of us as individual members at the branch level, state level, and at the national level. And we're going to do some learning from fellow branch leaders and other parts of the geography so that we can do what we do very best at AUW is listen, learn, steal, and repeat, and do some of those ideas in our own communities, which is a great way to make sure we're staying exceedingly connected and mission focused in this very uncertain time. I'm thrilled that we're able to highlight some of our just fantastic branches who've been participating and exceeding goals in the Five-Star program, who will be sharing some of their ideas of how they've been able to stay focused in this uncertain year. And you know from, I've got my friend Tremaine Parquet as well as Nakia McFarland from our national staff here, all three of us in our respective homes, safe and sound here, and we'll be sharing some ideas as well. But I can tell you, I know for all of us, we were used to doing things a certain way. And as we get into the fall, I know this tends to be a time of year that people start thinking about their giving plans to support their places of worship, the charities and nonprofits and educational institutions, and AAUW and before the end of the calendar year. And I know for a lot of our branches and affiliates, and for us in the national office, it's been hard to think about how to do that in such an uncertain economy, in such a scary time that we're in as a nation, with vitriolic ways of talking, with a pandemic that continues to swirl around us all, with children stuck with virtual learning, with working people struggling if they're on the front lines with how they're going to be able to keep themselves and their families safe. Or for those of us like Nakia, Tremaine, and I that are lucky enough to work in an environment where we can safely work from home, we're also juggling all of the multitude of household things with my seventh grader on the other side of that wall there, my husband downstairs, and the chaos of having us all in one household. And then as we think about this from an AUW branch level, of knowing that something that we've been talking about for a long time since I came to AUW 3.5 years ago was really how to make sure we can be relevant and pivot to today and tomorrow to continue to have great impact at the local branch level, at the state level, the federal level, and beyond. And that might mean doing things differently. Well, guess what? COVID-19 has shown us that old dogs are capable of learning new tricks. Look at all of us on Zoom today. We are able to. I've heard since the day I started, oh, no, AUW doesn't like technology. We don't like to get into all of that. No. And I am increasingly impressed and excited by how many are embracing Zoom, how many are figuring out other platforms for engaging, how many folks are doing, lifelong learning through YouTube. I mean, my own 12-year-old, you might start hearing the electric guitar here. She's been teaching herself how to play electric guitar by YouTube, for goodness sake. Who knew you could do this? But we are all capable of changing the way we think. So even if, as we get into some of this programming discussion and fundraising discussion today, and you're going to learn far more from your peers, from fellow member leaders just like you, about how they're pivoting to this moment and still engaging community with their fellow members. But even if you're doing a book club and how you are talking through a book, like right now, the board of directors of AUW National and I are reading Isabel Wilkerson's Cast, which is a fantastic read, and we'll be discussing it, via Zoom on Friday. Or if it's how you're going to bring together a discussion about what to expect after the election and what will be in the gender equity agenda for 2021, you can do that easily on panels via Zoom, right? And as we think about fundraising even, I've been a part of a couple of opportunities where we all get in our best clothing, cook the exact same meals, and have a virtual high-end dinner party where we pay for the privilege to support that nonprofit. So there are really creative ways to stay engaged and still keep what is amazing to me about AUW is the level of harmony we have in building extraordinary relationships with people who care about the same issues, care deeply about those issues, and want to see change. That can still happen even as we continue for many more months to come in facing down this pandemic. And I will say, and this isn't to put a sour note on anything, that because of autumn here in Washington, D.C., cold weather coming, I hope, please raise your hand if you've had your flu shot already. Really critical, always, to protect not just yourself, but to protect fellow human beings around you. But we're going to see, potentially some deeper rises in the virus, and how we all behave and how we ensure, too, that we can keep committed to what we're doing at AAUW together will help us to be stronger and better for it on the other side of this. And I promise you, we will get to the other side of this pandemic, and we'll continue to put together recovery plans for the economy so that all women and girls can thrive. So I am going to first say a huge thank you to the amazing member leaders who are joining us today. And Tremaine, I don't know if you have a slide for that, but it would be great if we can put up a slide of all of the member leaders in the branches that are with us today, so we can talk through kind of how we're going to go about this conversation today.
I will definitely do that here in a second. Cam, give me one moment. But if you want to go on, and because Nakia, if you're actually listening right now, if you can give me host privileges.
Oh. 1 second.
The logistics of this, it's not the same as just passing a microphone to somebody, right? Yeah.
No, in this, we are your allies because we are pivoting and adjusting and learning too. So so we are, and there we go. So give me 1 second and I will have that up for us.
Great. So we have some fantastic branch leaders from Schaumburg in Illinois, the Capital Nevada branch, Northeast Tarrant County, Woodbridge in Virginia, the Alexandria branch also in Virginia, North Hills, Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania, Seattle, where I grew up, in Washington, and West Suburban Milwaukee in Wisconsin. What's also fantastic about this is, one, your fellow member leaders said yes. They said that they join us in this conversation to share what they've learned and learn from one another. And you see that we've got a wide variety of size of branches, small, medium, and large, as well as geography differences, because I know very well that what works in Washington, D.C. may not work in Boise, Idaho, and what works in Boise, Idaho may not work, in Jacksonville, Florida, and what works in Jacksonville, Florida may not work in Phoenix, Arizona. So it really is important that we hear from a lot of different viewpoints on how we're building community and moving forward on our mission in this time. So with that, I am going to turn it to my friend Tremaine. We are going to be moving. You see that this is not like a typical national webinar where we can't see each other. In this case, you can see everybody. So you may want to go on speaker view, which is in the top right-hand corner. And what we're going to be doing is taping this first portion and talking through some of it. And then we're going to be breaking out into breakout rooms, because we've got, 130 people in here, and it would be really hard to have a single table, dinner table conversation with everyone with 130 folks. So what we will be doing is something we've been doing in a few other webinars, is breaking into small groups where you'll have a couple of these member leaders from some of the branches we just talked through to kind of share some of their ideas for fundraising, share some of their ideas for programming, and talk through it. But before that, let me turn it, because we still have some people coming in from the waiting room, I can see. So let me turn it over to Tremaine to talk through next steps.
Yeah, sure. So I think for this first portion, as Ken mentioned, we are really wanting to kind of hear from, member leader to member leader as to, what everyone has been doing and how everyone has stepped up and really taken it upon themselves to really, rise to the challenge of really, reformatting, re-envisioning, pivoting in really these really tough times. It's really not so easy to be so flexible on your feet, especially when you're looking at so many tried and true programming over the years, to be able to kind of upend everything and embrace, the now. So we did really want to talk with a lot of our, especially a lot of our five-star leaders here about, kind of what they've been doing. And they, again, as Ken mentioned, they really rose not only to the challenge of pivoting amidst COVID, but, rising to the challenge to be advocates and speakers today. So I want to start off, and I'll just, we have several branches here, but I want to start off with our Woodbridge branch. So Susan, if you want to unmute. Hello, Susan.
I am unmuted. Okay.
If you want to share with us just again your title at your branch, and then again just kind of talk a little bit to the programming or the fundraising that the Woodbridge branch is kind of pivoted amidst COVID.
Hi, I am the program and membership person, as well as several other roles. We're a very small branch, less than 35 people. I'm hoping to make it 40 this year. Started in 1972. Some of those people are life members and they're still active with what we do. The main focus is our 30-year STEAM Careers Conference that started from 1991, Shortchanging Girls, called Girls Plus Math Plus Science Equals Success. And we also judge science fair for middle school girls at the regional level. The reason I bring this up is our presenters, our middle school girls and high school girls, our corporate sponsors, our connections, because with so few members, we need volunteers. We work with a lot of different organizations. Our outreach is totally with the community and everything, and that helps us be able to do things. Yes, we're one of 11 branches in the Northern District, and Lane's going to be talking about Alexandria soon. There's only 24 branches in the state, and so that's nearly half up in this little part outside Washington, D.C. The community coalitions are our outreach and Zooming. I was watching WETA, a PBS program, and one of the artists at the Lorton Workhouse, which is where the Iron-Jawed Angels suffragists were imprisoned, is now a gallery and art studios. And the person that we had for our program in September, our virtual Zoom meeting, brought in 22 people, and she talked about the fact that because the tour guide was coming past her gallery, she learned so much, and that created several of her pieces of art. I invited her to be our presenter, contacted her, and we are going to do so much more on the same kinds of things with book clubs. In the chat, I've put the link to the program that she did so that you can see how it does connect, and it brings in a cat, which we were talking about earlier before you guys all joined us. And it also has the program from the Success Conference, so you can see the outreach and how we are able to connect people through Zoom meetings. And we're working on virtual book clubs. One of the speakers that we had in January is coming back to do a virtual book club with another novel that she's written. And the connections that happen from all of this have brought in transfer members from other states. And we can have our alumni on board. That's something that I do as membership. I keep in touch with all of the people that have gone on to other places, whether retiring or moved. And as a result, with virtual, we can connect the same way we're doing today with all across the country for people to be able to Zoom in. And that builds community and makes connections as well. So if you want to click on that link, it'll give you a lot of what we're doing. We're hoping to have an awards ceremony for American Education Week, our second annual, in November, where we are going to honor the person who they just dedicated, renamed. I'm not going to say the name of the Confederate general, but they just renamed one of our schools, Unity. The middle school is after her mother and her father. She was a teacher, he was military, both community, and we're going to honor her mom, and also because she is an anchor woman from Philadelphia TV, she will probably be able to do our Zoom meeting and coordinate that. And I don't think any of that would have been possible without the virtual capabilities. So I have a feeling that's going to stay, because it is easier to get so many more people together. As hard as it is sometimes to make the technology work. So
Thank you so much, Susan. No, I think some folks may actually find, as you're looking into investigating virtual programming, that it actually might be a little easier to expand your outreach virtually, as opposed to folks kind of getting folks to physically commit to a specific event space. So you might find that it's an alleviation. It alleviates things a little bit. So, I mean, that's something to consider. I want to move over from one coast to the other. Lynn, if you don't mind introducing yourself as well. Lynn from Washington, if you want to, again, introduce your branch, a little bit your position, and then talk a little bit, again, about what your branch has been doing.
Sure. I'm Lynn Dissinger. I'm one of the co-presidents of the Seattle branch. We've been conducting all of our meetings from Zoom since about July or August. That's our board meetings, branch meetings. We have some neighborhood social groups that we established over a year ago because our membership covers such a huge geographic area, and traffic used to be really awful. And of course, our little writing or book group. We've had 2 virtual branch meetings to date that basically follow the same format. The first one in September was when we were covered in smoke and probably would have had to have canceled an in-person meeting, so it actually worked out nicely. And that featured a local author, Elise Hooper, whose historical fiction, Fast Girls, tells the story of the U.S. Women's Olympic team from 1936. The track team. So our last meeting here in October switched to a focus on public policy as we addressed the Washington state referendum on comprehensive sex education for safe and healthy youth. It's legislation that both at the state level and at our branch level we helped get passed in January that's now in jeopardy because of a referendum. So we partnered with one of our coalition friends, Legal Voice, and had a speaker from there that's basically talked about the legislation and refuted the misinformation that's out there now on all of this. Of course, those presentations are followed by a Q&A. We also at this meeting featured our 2 young women who we sponsored to attend the 2019 Nick Whistle Conference. And so they joined us and shared, the highlights of their experience and just what leadership roles they've taken on since then. We do that every year anyway, but we're not able to do it when we wanted to with canceled meetings before. So it worked well for the virtual. Our Zoom meetings have averaged about 35 to 40 participants, which is just slightly more than we got pre-pandemic. And as was already mentioned, because it's virtual, you can bring in so many other people. One thing we've done here in the Puget Sound area is we're encouraging our smaller branches who might not have the resources to plan and conduct virtual meetings to consider our meetings their meetings so that they can come in and enjoy the same programs. And that's, we've got a few more here in the last month. So it certainly is an opportunity to bring in people from all over that, and even for our own members, again, because of how far, probably cover about 50 miles in our membership. So many have been very happy to just call in and not drive.
Yeah, I can expect that there will be a lot of paradigm shifts in how we conduct business in terms of, especially branches. I think, and I was mentioning Peg Carlson Bowen actually just kind of sent me a private message, but I think we're going to see a lot more diversity in some of our meetings that we probably didn't see previously. Again, it's so much easier. So I think just the world post-COVID, if all things willing, there is a world post-COVID, is going to look very different. Jennifer, I want to now tap you next on our little panel here. Jennifer, if you don't mind unmuting and introducing yourself.
Hi, sure, Tremaine. Hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer Verivi. I am co-president of the Capital Nevada branch, which is located in Carson City, Nevada. So that's not down by Vegas. It's up by Reno, Lake Tahoe. So it's really fun to be here. Kind of like Lynn, and maybe a little bit of what Susan was talking about, the epidemic gave us not only the opportunity, but sort of the requirement to go virtual. And so we're a very traditional branch in a lot of ways in terms of what AAUW membership looks like. And we too want to be more inclusive and more diverse. So we formalized the process. So instead of just trying to like kind of catch can as catch go or whatever that is, we came up with a theme called Change for the Change Makers. And that's our initiative to update our skills, to say, look, it's time, ladies. We can't not know how to Zoom. We can't not know what Twitter is. We can't not know how to post something on Facebook. Right now is the time to get involved because we wanted to make sure that we could participate. I mean, I don't know about all of you, but there are so many things, not just from AAUW National, but so many things to attend online, right? We wanted everyone to participate. So we wanted to participate, to organize ourselves, to continue to do the work of our branch, especially our community outreach and our interest groups, right? We like each other. We were missing each other and we wanted to be able to get together. And then also to do our advocacy, which is really what's coming strong right now with this month. So we got people up on Zoom. We did individual tutorials. We got family members involved. We got, I teach at our local college, who is a university partner with AAUW, and they allowed me to use my Zoom account so we could extend it for longer than 40 minutes and go as long as we want. So our lifetime member now has Zoom. She can unmute herself and turn her video on and off, and her family helped her get an email address, right? So that's what we're kind of doing to participate, have all our folks participate in our program meetings, which are all virtual. And like Lynn said, that includes board meetings, interest group meetings, book discussions. Our STEM committee meets that way. We have organized ourselves also to be able to lead meetings so that our STEM committee can host meetings and continue their work in our community. We've learned how to make videos so we can send video updates to membership and not just type everything out in email. So that was a learning for me. Woo! We make Zoom backgrounds, like our woman who organizes our pecan fundraiser makes like a pecan Zoom background to make sure she's promoting our pecan sales. And then most recently what we're doing is advocating. So to do that in a pandemic, we created a new committee called the Technical Skills and Social Media Committee, TISM. And what we do there is we're developing guidelines for social media content and posting, adhering to what National has given us, as well as the Nevada Commission for Women has had some templates. So we participated in the I Vote Because campaign that some of you might have heard of. And so we finally have content for our social media. We have partnered with a couple other local organizations to stream our candidate forums. So every October we co-host candidate and issues forums when there's an election. And so there's a grassroots television channel on the internet. And so we had to communicate that. We have members now that have downloaded the Roku app and know how to stream content so they can participate in these virtual forums live as well as watch recordings. And then we are kicking off our how-to series, and I'm very excited. Our first how-to that one of our members is doing is how to tweet your representative. I cannot wait. So that's what we've been doing out here in Nevada.
That is amazing, Jennifer. Thank you so much for that. I think you can't undersell that. Again, we're trying to re-envision programming, virtually, but yeah, advocacy virtually as well. We had a great presentation over the summer from our own Robin Lucas, who was talking about, social advocacy and, just kind of social media 101 amid the COVID era. So yeah, that training like that is really important. So thank you so much for doing, efforts just like that. I want to tap Paula next, if Paula doesn't mind unmuting and introducing herself.
Thank you so much. I'm Paula Jernigan. I'm one of two presidents of the Northeast Tarrant County, Texas branch, and you're probably going, where is that? We're about halfway between Dallas and Fort Worth in Texas. Our branch has in the neighborhood of 100 members. We have started our 51st year this year. Last year was our big 50th anniversary celebration. And Kim was actually with us, and Nakia, I think, as well, right? For our installation of officers and for the May meeting where we finalized our activity for our 50th anniversary. So we've actually been Zooming since April, because Texas shut down about the 15th of March. And so we have not been able to meet in person since then. So I think one of the things that has been fun for all of us is just learning to Zoom. Several of you have talked about the challenges of that for all of us. And I'm so grateful that it's relatively easy to learn how to participate and then how to host. We were very fortunate in Texas that the state of Texas, AAUW, had some funds that were not able to be used for in-person programming this year. So they shifted some of their priorities a little bit and actually provided a free professional Zoom subscription for every branch in the state. So that was a wonderful gift that allowed us to have a professional account and move forward with that. We're a group that has a strong tradition of a summer planning, a program planning meeting. And when July came, we held that meeting and we had surveyed our membership to determine what topics they enjoyed about last year, which things we wanted to do again this year, given the change in our lives. And so we realized as we were talking about programming, we needed to be sure that our speakers knew that we were going to be Zooming. So our entire program year, like many of you, is set up to be a Zoom a monthly meeting. The fun thing that we had really early on to deal with was membership. We have an annual membership brunch with lovely food and great decorations and our big drive for school supplies for the school that we've adopted. And here we are unable to get together in person, and we're going, oh my goodness, what will we do in August in the place of a membership brunch with 20 or so prospective members and wonderful food and an overview of AAUW to talk about all the reasons you should join. So we started asking ourselves, what are the other big things we want to try to accomplish this year? And one of those in our strategic plan is to look for opportunities to interact with other women's groups. So, set in the context of a pandemic and a life that's a little bit crazy, at this planning meeting, we began to talk about how we could get other women's groups involved with our branch so that we're not only joining forces on women's issues in the community, we're also beginning to program share, which I think some of the other presenters have already mentioned. We have shared program information with the other branches, for example, in our county, Tarrant County and in Arlington and across our state. We have dual members who are in other cities in Texas, other states. They're now joining in on meetings. So we're going, okay, so what do we do in place of this membership brunch? So we decided our best strategy might be to expose our branch and all of the things we do to other women's groups. And what better way to invite people than to say, okay, which other women's groups are all of us involved in? And when we started brainstorming about that, the list was very long, of other women's organizations, Supporters of Safe Haven, League of Women Voters, Women's Forum, et cetera, et cetera. So we decided that our best approach for our initial meeting would be sort of a soft sell on membership, but rather inviting friends and associates from other women's groups to join a program that we were all interested in. So our first program was to have Leah King, who is the president and CEO of United Way of Tarrant County, to be our presenter. And we asked her to specifically talk about how COVID-19 had affected all of the nonprofit agencies in Tarrant County that service women and children in particular. And what an eye-opener that was. And they also, because they're so well connected, have been asked by the mayor of the city of Fort Worth to take the lead on developing educational programs that can be used on the issue of racial equality and justice in our county. And so having all of that group of women together from so many different women's organizations was just electric, even though we were sitting at a Zoom meeting. And on that particular meeting, we advertised that we were having it on Facebook, asked folks that wanted to join us to send their email address to our membership folks. So that was a nice effort between membership and programming. And now we have this list building of prospective members who have responded to a Facebook post. And so they are now being invited to our meetings. So we went from that meeting to the League of Women Voters presenter who originally was local and became someone in Austin in the state capitol because we can Zoom and have a
that is awesome. I'm sorry, Paula, to interrupt. I'm also trying to keep an eye on time, and I want to make sure that we do have opportunities to really have a really productive breakout session too. But Thank you so much. No, that is really good stuff that you shared with us today. So I do want to deputize our next panelist to speak. And Peg, I'm going to you next. Again, I want to also keep mindful. I don't want to shortchange anyone because this is all really good stuff. And if nothing else, we're going to have an opportunity for all of you. All of our panelists today will be kind of the head of some of our breakout rooms. And so they can go into a lot more in depth in those sessions where you can then really digest and kind of share a little bit more. But for writ large, Peg, if you want to introduce yourself and kind of talk a little bit about what the pivots you've made.
Sure. Thank you, Tremaine. I can be brief. I'm president of the Schaumburg area branch. We're in the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. And we are very proud of our work, especially because when you talk small, we're 21 members, but we do good work. I think what I would like to highlight from our fall and our transition into this, pandemic life was that we took one of our strong partners, our two program chairs took our strong partner of the library and look to them to help us with programming because they have some resources we might not have, like money and some of the video. And we had two great programs, one on epidemiology and public health, which was an epidemiologist who really talked about the details of her work in Cook County here and during this pandemic. So that was very timely. She happened to be a graduate of our area high school, which was exciting. And then our second program was a legislative, the director of outreach from our local congressman. And she was able to answer lots of questions about procedure. Everyone's curious about the Electoral College and some of these questions that are really timely for us. So both meetings were well attended and we were really excited to have them. So I think having a partner is good and we'll continue to work with them. One other area that I think is good for me to mention is we started a new interest group called Celebrating Women. And we did that mainly because of the 100th year of the vote. But then we moved on with that. And now our next one, we're watching the CNN First Lady series on Sunday evenings, if you might be seeing that. And we're going to have a discussion about those First Ladies. So I think there's lots of people are watching more television and interesting television perhaps, and we can share that in discussions. So if that's helpful.
Thank you so much, Peg. Let me now go to our final panelist, actually. So, Becca, if you don't mind introducing yourself and talking a little bit about the kind of revisioning that you've done out there in Wisconsin.
Sounds good. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Becca Sturgis. I am a member of the West Suburban Milwaukee, Wisconsin branch. We are 200 members strong. And we've been doing everything virtual, essentially. We actually have a virtual branch meeting tonight that we're prepping for. But rather than talk about our virtual Zoom meetings and things like that, I want to talk about our virtual fundraising efforts that we've put into place. I also serve on the AAUW National Fundraising Committee, so I think they'd be mad at me if I didn't talk about the side of things related to fundraising, right? So I'm not sure if anyone has heard of a website called 32auctions.com. And I'll certainly talk about this more in our breakout session. Good, I'm seeing some chat saying yes. There's a free website, 32auctions.com, that we used recently to host a virtual silent auction. We decided to host a virtual silent auction because we had to make the difficult decision to cancel our signature style show fundraiser that we host annually in person, obviously. And one of the elements of that fundraiser is a silent auction. So we formed a committee of probably 10 branch members. We had 52 silent auction items that we originally were going to showcase at the style show and then moved to this virtual location on the 32 Auctions website. So it was cool to see all of our members come together, learn a new technology. We had about 60 to 70 AAUW members and then members of the community that participated in the virtual silent auction, which was cool. And we raised about $4,000 for national programs. So definitely, if you're interested in learning more, come to my breakout session.
Thank you so much. And a huge, tremendous mea culpa. I do have one more panelist that was omitted. Lane from literally my neck of the woods here in Alexandria. You are next up, and I'm so sorry about that.
No problem, no problem. Well, raise your hand if you tried to use the free Zoom account to start with. We try to get away with that. And, we started in March, but now it's the best $15 we ever spent. I was mostly concerned about losing members. And so I wanted to do some kind of a value added thing. And so during the summer, we had lunch and learn sessions. One was with Alexandria's new race and justice officer. One was with Northern Virginia Community College's Title IX coordinator. So we kept up our issues-based programming. And I think offered a service. And we invited the national members to try to, reel some of them in, which is easy to do because of MSD. So I think our challenge now is the things that we usually do that are fun, how to do those on Zoom. And so we've decided our holiday party will have to be on Zoom, but we're going to try to make it fun too. And I suggested an ugly sweater contest, but someone else suggested like classical music, just having a musician there, even though it's on Zoom. And so I'm sure we'll meet someplace in the middle, but you can still socialize on Zoom. It doesn't always have to be business. So, and this is our 75th anniversary. And so that's kind of disappointing to not be able to be together for that, but people understand. So anyway, thank you, Tremaine. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Lane. Sorry. So yeah, I would like to now, I also, again, being mindful of everyone's time, I do have some slides on our branch fundraising, but I do want to make sure that we have ample time for the breakout session. So I think what we are going to probably need to do here is I will focus on a few of these slides. I will be very super brief on this. And then I want to give us plentiful time. So what I'm sharing here, give me one moment. So I'm going to go through only a couple of these. And really, the crux of this is to really share with you that you don't have to reinvent the wheel so much as you just need to find online platforms and online opportunities to kind of leverage ideas that are really, none of these ideas are super innovative or, or completely, wow, we've really completely invented this. This is really just about kind of framing things in such a way that how do you do things virtually. So real quick, so like a virtual mill run or a virtual walk, this is something to increase activity. There's all sorts of, smartphone apps about health tracking and monitoring that you could kind of still do that participatory. I know some of you on this call may remember our Eleanor Roosevelt walk runs, for example. So this is kind of a way to re-envision something like that. Becca mentioned online auctions. This is a perennial fundraiser that I know that a lot of members hold near and dear. I know a lot of state conventions, unfortunately, are held where where silent auctions are featured. But again, as Becca was mentioning, there are ways to do these online now that don't necessarily need to be beholden to the tried and true way of things. And I'm going through things quickly, but I will be more than happy to send these slides out afterwards to all attendees. So don't feverishly feel like you need to write all of this down, because I am trying to be mindful of time, because I want everyone to have a lot of opportunity to connect on the breakout sessions coming up. So this is, again, a quick idea about virtual cooking, a lesson, so if you have a gourmand, if you have someone that's good at cooking, you can even do this with wine tasting. I've seen all sorts of virtual wine tasting events, or even sending out, if you have that kind of collateral, like the wine, the food, and actually have everyone join you in preparing things. Guided tours. This is I know a lot, especially in the West Coast. I know that garden tours, house tours, even museum tours. If you have a space, any place where you have an interesting space where folks might be interested in purchasing a ticket to kind of walk through that is something that you can really exploit here. Product sales are another thing. I've seen a lot of industrious branches leveraging AAUW masks, which is like, wow, why is that not something anyone else has thought of? But but these are things that you can be kind of thinking about in this time. And Kim mentioned the virtual dinner party. Those are great. Movie screenings. The share screen feature that I'm using right now could be used to screen any sort of either webinar that AAUW has done, or even some sort of Netflix streaming thing. There's a lot of opportunity there for charging the usual requisite tickets for those types of events that you would have had in person. So I am going to actually throw this up on the thank you, because I'm going to end our recorded portion of this event, and then I'm going to kick back to the breakout session. So this is a snapshot of our email addresses for myself, for Nakia. Heather is another AAUW colleague who's been hiding in the background, but she's going to be helping with the breakout session. And I also wanted to plug here, because a lot of these items were mentioned in our Membership Matters recently, and that little shortcut, AAUW.org/membership matters, is a great tool for just we put a lot of resources there. So I hope everyone will take us up on kind of tapping into this. We'll hopefully grow this these fundraising ideas, these programming ideas there going forward. So I don't know if you have a closing. Yes.
So one thing, sorry for interrupting you.
No, please.
One thing I wanted to say to everybody here, and this is Kim talking again, and thanks, Tremaine, for sharing those slides. All of this portion is being recorded, like all of our webinars are, and they'll be up on the 2020 convening page and accessible on the membership page on the website. And we'll make sure and send out those links in emails and in the newsletters as well. But I think what's going to be really important is this next session that we move into the breakout. So I first want to say thank you to Tremaine, Nakia, and to all of these extraordinary branch leaders for sharing some of the ways that they've remained relevant, mission-focused, and had a heck of a lot of fun, too, with virtual programming and fundraising. When we move into the breakouts, each of your leaders, because we are running a little long, if we're able to keep the breakout rooms going for about 25 minutes, that would be great. But if folks need to beg off because of other commitments, it's okay. I highly recommend when you get into the breakout to share your email address in the chat. That will only go to the people in your breakout room, and it allows you to stay connected in the near future. So I hope that's helpful. Back to you, Tremaine.
No, I think that's good. Let's pause or end the recording portion, Nakia, if you don't mind, and then I will kick back to the breakout